Dear Cancer soul, there may be a knock this week. Not just a passerby or a familiar voice, but something that carries the weight of consequence. It could be an officer, a letter sealed by law, or something far less expected. A wave of divine balance, a truth, long buried, stirring back to life. However, it shows up what's been tucked away is coming into the light. You didn't land here by chance. Maybe it was instinct, a whisper you followed, or the quiet pull of divine timing, but your presence now matters. The universe is asking you to stand face to face with something that's been left in the dark too long. So let me ask you this without flinching. If someone knocked today wearing a badge, how would you feel? Would it be dread or quiet release? Would your heart tighten, or would it finally exhale? Welcome to a message meant for more than just another prediction. This is a spiritual crossroad, a pause between you and the universe. Raw, clear, and deeply personal. It holds insight, warning, and truth-tethered guidance. As Pluto now deep in your intensely transformative 8th house, and Mercury retracing its steps through the foundational terrain of your 4th house, your roots, your family, your past, begin aligning like stones across a sacred path. This message is for Cancer, and it speaks directly to the powerful window between October 6th and October 12th, a time when old karmic wheels may stop turning, when hidden truths might break the surface, when fate could arrive dressed as messengers, moments, or even officials knocking at your actual or symbolic door. Don't be afraid. This is not a sentence. It's a summon. When forces move this unmistakably, it means truth is rising, and with it your power and your healing. What you're about to hear might shake your core, but it was always meant to solidify it. Because truth may not always come wrapped in softness, but it always sets you free. Cancer, when the divine sends its signs, it doesn't always whisper. Sometimes it speaks through tension, through a letter, a reckoning, or a long-avoided exchange. Sometimes light takes the form of disruption. And yes, sometimes that light begins with a knock. So pause and breathe. This message isn't meant to frighten you. It's meant to steady you. Before we begin, I want to thank you deeply. Every tap, every share, each word you leave behind, each time you return keeps this sacred conversation alive. It's what allows us to offer truths like this, grounded, clear, and soul deep. You are the reason this space exists. And believe me, Cancer, you'll want to stay with me through every moment of this message. Because what's unfolding in the sky now is nothing short of astonishing. This isn't just foresight. It's revelation. It's divine timing. It's a call to come back to what's real in you. To walk into a week where even what once scared you might be the thing that liberates you. So tell me, my compassionate Cancer, what led you here today? Was it a dream, a flicker of knowing, or something too quiet to name? If you feel it, type, "I'm ready for the truth" in the comments to claim this moment and root it into your energy. Let the universe know you're not hiding. You're awakening. Stay close. What comes next may shake the ground beneath you, but it will help you rise steadier than ever. Let's begin. It doesn't always crash in with thunder or alarms. Sometimes it begins as a whisper inside your own walls. Between October 6th and October 12th, Cancer is being slowly but undeniably drawn into deeper alignment by two potent celestial forces: Pluto, the planet of rebirth, and profound transformation. Now, deep in your 8th house of shared resources, intimacy, and profound change, and Mercury retracing its steps through the foundational terrain of your 4th house, your home, your rudiment, family, and your innermost roots. This is where your history lives, where your deepest emotions reside, and where the walls remember even what you forget. When both of these planets stir this space together, the universe is no longer suggesting, it's insisting, turn inward. This energy isn't here to shame or dismantle you. It comes to gently unearth what's long been hidden beneath the surface. And often, that hidden layer isn't about others' secrets. It's about the truths you've shelved inside yourself. Childhood wounds, buried grief, quiet resentments, or that gut truth you've ignored to keep things peaceful in your emotional sanctuary. You may notice a restlessness rising within your home or through the connections that tie you to family. like tension in the beam, subtle but slowly pressing against what you've tried to smooth over. This is not a punishment, it's an opening. The cosmos is saying what you avoid will start making its way to you. When Pluto activates your 8th house, it sharpens your vision into the unspoken dynamics, power plays, or shared financial realities you might have avoided. Suddenly, you may catch glimpses of what's really going on beneath the surface of domestic patterns or family legacies. And with Mercury in retrograde in your 4th house, communication around home and family becomes raw and revealing. Words stumble out, feelings bubble up, and truths find their way into the room whether spoken or not. Maybe it's a note left out, a phrase overheard, or someone saying what's been on their chest for years. Whatever it is, expect shadow to meet sunlight. This is your signal to go inward, not spiral. One of the strongest moves you can make right now is to start writing down what's stirring inside, especially the parts you're scared to admit. Keep it sacred just for yourself. No need to polish it. When you name the truth in private, the fear it carries begins to loosen. It's also a powerful time to let stillness speak. Sit quietly with your own breath and ask, what am I not letting myself feel right now? You'd be surprised how much of the chaos around you echoes the silence you're holding within. Truth rarely arrives like thunder. Often it enters softly, but once it's made itself known, you won't leave untouched. You're not meant to fix it all in one breath, but this is your time to observe, to be honest, and to ready yourself, because clarity is making its way in whether you're braced for it or not. And the more you lean into this with open hands, the more gently it can reshape you. There's a rhythm to all of this, a kind of sacred choreography moving behind the curtains. Sometimes the divine waits in silence, waiting for us to clear space so something new can be revealed. This may be one of those sacred thresholds. And if lately you've asked for a sign for direction or some kind of protection, don't be surprised if it doesn't arrive through bright visions or heavenly music. Instead, it might come disguised as a difficult conversation with someone in your household, a knock you didn't expect, or a moment where broken words open a door to long overdue clarity. You're not falling apart. You're being guided down a different road. And the discomfort you're feeling now isn't a collapse. It's your spirit expanding into a version of life that holds more truth, more calm, more space for you to fully exist. Let the stillness say what words cannot. Let the quiet corners of your home speak freely. And know this, when truth rumbles through your foundation, it's not tearing you down. It's laying the groundwork for something stronger to rise in its place. Sometimes the knock is quite literal. A message from a bank, a government office concerning shared resources, a legal notice unexpected and pressing, perhaps regarding an inheritance or debt. And sometimes that knock doesn't come from the world at all. It begins within a subtle push in your chest, an unease you can't explain, a sense that something is surfacing and won't be ignored anymore. In this kind of energy, Cancer, that image of someone knocking isn't just about being held accountable. It's about being called back to what's real. It asks, what happens when the truth finally comes for what you've tried to outrun? What happens when hiding starts to cost more than honesty ever could? This knocking isn't just a symbol of trouble. It could be the moment the universe hands you the chance to stop avoiding. You might see echoes of old chapters, stories you thought were over, begin reappearing, especially concerning shared legacies or intimate bonds. Words you've held back may push forward, demanding to be said. And you could feel like the walls of your emotional shell are closing in, but it's only because you've grown past needing to hide behind them. And here's something your heart needs to hold on to. The longer you bury something in the dark, the more power it seems to take on. But once it meets the light, it starts to lose its grip. That's why this moment isn't a reckoning. It's a release. It's sacred ground breaking open. And yes, it might feel raw, but that rawness is also freedom. There are real people, true stories where one honest word spoken after years of silence sets a life back into motion. Not because everything magically changes, but because they finally refuse to let silence define them. I once knew someone who carried her secret for 17 long years. Sure, it would wreck everything if she let it out. But when she finally spoke, shaking, crying, scared, what happened wasn't destruction. It was reunion. Her family didn't fall apart. They reached for her, and she said later it was the first time in nearly 20 years that she could breathe. That might be what this week is offering you. A breath you haven't allowed yourself in far too long. Maybe you're not holding some huge secret. Maybe it's just a quiet fear, a conversation you've tucked away. A pattern you know deep down has run its course. Whatever it is, the knock is the signal. You don't have to swing the door wide open. Just unlatch it. Let a little light spill in. And let me offer you this. You don't need to have it all figured out, to be honest. You don't have to be fearless to begin. You just have to be willing. And willing is everything. Even Jesus reminded us, nothing buried stays hidden forever. Not as a threat, but as an invitation to finally live free. Sometimes grace wears the face of disruption. So if something or someone confronts you this week, raises a question, stirs emotion, don't push it away right away. Ask yourself, what truth have I finally outgrown my fear of? Because once you're honest with yourself, the rest becomes far easier to face. And it might just turn out that what scared you the most is actually what sets you free. You might even notice that certain opportunities this week seem almost too lucky, too perfect, too easy to believe. And that's no coincidence. As Jupiter forms a square with Pluto, the terrain around your shared resources, intimate connections, and your hopes for the future could become trickier than it appears. This kind of planetary tension often shows up as dazzling chances, bold promises, or offers that glitter like gold. But beneath that surface, there's always more to unpack. There's a karmic price in the air. Cancer, the energy around you now is wide-reaching but unstable, especially in matters of trust agreements involving joint finances or inheritances and the people you allow close to your spirit and your home. If your gut says something is off, it likely is. Even if it looks flawless, even if it comes from a face you've trusted before, this is where your inner compass must take the lead. When Jupiter and Pluto collide like this, false promises, questionable alliances, or borrowed power often sneak in wearing the disguise of opportunity, especially within groups or among friends. You could be asked to sign your name, share your resources, or step into something you don't fully understand that involves joint ventures or other people's money. This is not the week to leap. It's the week to pause to say, let me consider more often than feels natural to you. And it doesn't stop with money. Inside your home, conversations might carry new weight, more urgency, more pressure, more persuasion than usual. This may especially involve children or those living under your roof. You could notice subtle shifts, as if someone you love is swayed by influences that don't have their best at heart. The call here is to guide wisely, not control tightly, to offer steady direction without trying to dominate. You don't need to frighten anyone into change, but you must speak if your intuition starts burning red. And while we're naming red flags, don't overlook your own patterns. If you've struggled with giving too much, rescuing too quickly, or investing more of your emotional energy than you should this week, could test those edges. That's why it's essential to write down 3 boundaries, financial or relational, that you refuse to cross. No matter how convincing the request sounds, it might be as clear as I won't lend money without terms in writing, or I won't agree to joint choices without time to think. Boundaries don't make you cold. They make you wise. They protect the ground you've worked to steady. I've seen countless stories where people learn too late through betrayal, debt, or exhaustion from always saying yes. But I've also seen miracles rise when limits are honored. A woman once shared that she had spent years propping up her grown son both emotionally and financially. She finally set one firm line, not in anger, but in love. That same week, he stood on his own found work and told her it was the first time he believed she trusted him to survive without her. Boundaries, she discovered, weren't barriers. They were bridges. So take this energy seriously, but not with dread. The cosmos isn't punishing you. It's sharpening your sight. It's tuning your ability to say no with confidence, and it's reminding you of your right to both financial and emotional steadiness. You are not here to bankroll everyone else's vision. You're not meant to carry broken systems simply because you care for those inside them. You're here to move with clarity, and clarity comes when you slow down, when you notice, when you honor what you know is true inside. Not every open door is meant for your feet. Some are simply lessons to recognize and leave behind. There comes a moment in every soul's path when silence grows heavier than truth, when avoidance drains more energy than facing what's real. And if you felt that quiet weight pressing against your chest like your own spirit is asking to breathe, this could be that moment for you, Cancer. In the energy moving around you now, the message is unmistakable. You are cherished, yes, but not to stay tucked away. You are recognized, yes, but not to keep walking in quiet regret. And you are being called not by judgment but by grace to finally step out from what you've been holding alone. As I tune into the pulse of this week, I sense what feels like a cleansing tide. This isn't a wave that crashes all at once. It's a tide that rises gently, washing off what no longer belongs on your emotional shoreline. And it asks for one thing: willingness. The willingness to forgive, even if just a little. The willingness to speak the truth, even if your voice trembles. The willingness to clear the space around you so the space within can breathe too. You don't need a dramatic gesture to begin. Sometimes the most potent clearing rituals start with something as small as lighting a candle and sitting with your thoughts. Ask yourself, what part of me have I been keeping hidden? Not because it's shameful, but because I feared it wouldn't be understood. Let that question hang softly in the room with you. Often the answers don't roar. They come as soft, almost whispered clarity. Energetic cleansing isn't some abstract concept. It's deeply practical. The objects in your home carry vibration. The corners of your space hold memory. Things you've saved just in case may be tied to a version of you that no longer exists. Open the windows. Let the air move. Burn sage or incense if you feel drawn. Wash the sheets. Sweep the floors. And as you do, speak this quietly to yourself. As I clean my home, I make space for peace. As I release clutter, I release what no longer serves my highest path. There's something sacred about preparing a space for healing. I've seen people release emotion just by moving furniture or cry after finally donating something from a past chapter. Not because the object itself had power, but because letting it go allowed their body to exhale. That's what this phase offers you, the chance to exhale. I once worked with a woman who held on to a handwritten letter from someone who deeply wounded her. She never reread it or left it out in the open, but it sat in a box at the back of her closet for over a decade. When she finally let it go years later, she told me it was the first time she had truly slept through the night in years. Not because the memory vanished, but because the energy tied to it no longer ruled her space. You don't have to burn bridges. You just have to stop letting pain live rent-free in your field. Write down what you're ready to release. Light a small candle. Read it aloud. And as you burn the paper, whisper, "I choose peace. I choose light. I give this to the fire and make room for joy." The divine does not demand perfection, only honesty. And when you offer that honesty, not just in your words, but in your actions and your space, life responds. The clarity you've prayed for begins with the first thing you're willing to release. When the stars shift, we often expect something dramatic. More often, the shift happens inside before it shows outwardly. That's exactly what this next celestial movement is asking of you, Cancer. It's drawing you into deeper alignment with your own emotional truth through a quiet yet powerful current that begins with the Scorpio moon from October 6th to October 8th. When the moon moves through Scorpio, it doesn't skim the surface. It dives down, stirring the hidden layers of your creativity, children, or romance, your fifth house, calling up your intuition, asking you to trust your inner voice more than the outside noise. And for someone like you, naturally steady in your emotional connections and comfort-seeking in your home, that depth may feel like a stretch. But here's the truth. Clarity often waits on the other side of discomfort. During this time, if something feels off, even if you can't explain it yet, don't dismiss it. Intuition murmurs before it calls out. That small unease, that hunch you can't shake it, isn't paranoia, it's preparation. Notice your dreams, journal your nudges. You're being offered divine insight if you're willing to listen. And don't be surprised if your spirit draws you inward away from distractions towards solitude or back to an old feeling you never fully faced. You don't need to analyze it all right away. Just let it be. That alone begins the clearing. Then, as we step into October 9th and October 10th, Pluto's influence grows stronger as it stirs your house of shared resources, legacy, and profound transformation, your 8th house. In astrology, Pluto is the force of deep transformation, and when it touches shared money, inheritance, or family legacies, it can feel like something buried long ago, suddenly breaking the surface. This could be a financial reality you've avoided, a lingering debt, or a pattern with shared spending that no longer aligns, or perhaps a surprising shift within your family dynamic that reshapes how you see your place in the system, especially regarding power and control. If something comes forward, don't fight it. This isn't about carrying shame. It's about finally seeing what was hidden so you can walk forward without dragging old weight. Sometimes what's revealed isn't outside you at all. It's the inner choice you've been putting off. Maybe it's time to stop carrying everyone else's feelings at the cost of your peace. Maybe it's time to speak openly about money, about duty, or about emotional loads that have been yours for too long. Remember, Pluto never strips away what's truly yours. It only clears what blocks your transformation. And as we move into October 11th and 12th, a new moon rises in your 4th house of home, family, and emotional foundations, a time in astrology that marks fresh beginnings. But the new cannot arrive fully without closing the door on the old. That's why the days leading up to a new moon hold such power. You stand in the threshold between ending and beginning. And in that threshold, freedom is found by releasing what no longer belongs in your inner sanctuary. You might feel pulled to clear your living space or to speak words that bring closure to family matters. Follow that instinct even if it seems small. Symbolic acts carry weight far beyond their size. And as you lean into closure and alignment, use tools that sharpen your clarity. The color navy will steady you this week. It roots you in stability tied to the base chakra, bringing focus and calm. Touches of gold or warm golden light can help you remember your worth, especially as you navigate financial choices or emotional truths. And if you connect with numbers, turn toward 4 and 9. 4 supports the building of lasting foundations, especially potent for your 4th house. 9 guides you toward ending cycles with grace. You don't need to do it all in one breath. You only need to trust the rhythm unfolding around you. One door is closing softly, but another is ready to open. And what waits beyond is grounded in truth, peace, and strength. Let the heavens point you forward. If you followed me this far, Cancer, then you already sense something greater is moving through your life. Maybe it's arrived as a whisper, or maybe it's thundered in like a storm. Either way, the knocking you've noticed, it doesn't come to bring fear. It comes to bring truth. And truth, though uncomfortable at first, is always the beginning of real freedom. You didn't arrive here by chance. You were drawn here because part of you is finally ready to face what's been hiding in the corners. Whether in your shared resources, your home, your bonds, or your own heart, I want you to pause for a moment and ask yourself, what truth have I been avoiding? What clarity am I finally ready to welcome, even if it shifts everything I thought knew? Because here's what matters. What you face with honesty today has the strength to free you tomorrow. This isn't about blame or punishment. This is about stepping back into your own power in the very places confusion once lived. This is about seeing that when something knocks, whether it's a revelation, a consequence, or a hidden blessing, you still choose how to answer. You choose whether to open the door with fear or with the calm of someone already committed to the light. Remember, the message of this week is not crisis, it is clarity. And clarity always asks for one thing from you: presence. Presence in your choices, presence in the boundaries you set, presence in the way you heal. And yes, presence even when it feels easier to hide away in your shell. The universe, your own wisdom, and every lesson you've carried until now are urging you not to escape, but to rise. to release what's grown old, to finally speak what needs to be spoken, to stop pretending you're fine when you're not, to stop tying your worth to someone else's approval or recognition. You are free to walk away from anything that asks you to make yourself smaller. You are free to reset the energy in your home, your finances, your connections, and your own truth. You are free to let go of what was and to open yourself to what could be. No permission required, only present. So if you're still here with me, I want to thank you deeply. Every like, every comment, every time you share or subscribe, you're helping this circle of seekers grow and making sure these messages reach the hearts that need them most. And if this stirred something in you, if a part of you felt seen in these words, don't just scroll past. Let it settle. Let it awaken something within you. Now tell me, Cancer, what door are you ready to open? What truth are you ready to receive? What part of your life is waiting for the light you've been holding back? Write it below by saying, I'm ready to receive the truth. I choose light. And if this message felt like it was meant for you, tap that like button. Subscribe to stay connected, because this is only the beginning of your realignment. And maybe, just maybe, share this with someone you love who might be standing at their own doorway now, unsure if they should open it. Because the truth, it doesn't come to harm you. It comes to set you free. And you, dear Cancer, are more than ready.